I had this idea from hearing about Kobe Bryant retiring, and I don't really care about Kobe Bryant. I never really watched the Lakers much. I kind of prefer the Clippers, and I also don't really watch basketball unless it's University of Michigan. But I heard this. It's fascinating when you've got a professional athlete, and it's like there's so much at stake with the team's success and the money involved and the ego, and it's like so hard for people to let go. And so you'll see a lot of times people stick around for way longer than they should have. In any professional kind of athletics, you see it a lot with fighters. I like to watch UFC and MMA, not because I like seeing people get beat up, but because I like to watch the technique. And boy, does the ego get involved, and you see people who it's very clear should have stopped fighting 10 years earlier. They just keep fighting. And you know that they should have stopped because they get knocked out every time they fight. After you've gotten knocked out a few times, it actually gets easier for you to get knocked out. And it's like there are these poor guys who walk out there, and they used to be legends. They were the best fighters on the planet, and they've just been knocked out a few too many times, and then they just get like touched, and they're just out. And it like breaks my heart to see somebody do that, because this is somebody that it's like used to be so good and would just destroy everybody, and now they're just like sad and old. And you see the same thing with all sports. And some people go out at the right time. Some people are kind of forced out early from injuries or whatever's going on, issues with their personal life. And some people just stick around for way too long. Now, I'm not going to say which one of these is Kobe, although I'm sure a lot of people would say that he just stuck around way too long. But I really liked the fact that he wrote this poem, and a lot of people have been talking about this poem, and I heard them on the radio on Monday discussing it. And he wrote this love letter to basketball, and so I'm going to read it. Dear basketball, from the moment I started rolling my dad's tube socks and shooting imaginary game-winning shots in the Great Western Forum, I knew one thing was real. I fell in love with you. A love so deep I gave you my all, from my mind and body to my spirit and soul. As a 6-year-old boy, deeply in love with you, I never saw the end of the tunnel. I only saw myself running out of one. And so I ran. I ran up and down every court after every loose ball for you. You asked for my hustle. I gave you my heart because it came with so much more. I played through the sweat and hurt, not because challenge called me, but because you called me. I did everything for you, because that's what you do when someone makes you feel as alive as you've made me feel. You gave a 6-year-old boy his Laker dream, and I'll always love you for it. But I can't love you obsessively for much longer. The season is all I have left to give. My heart can take the pounding, my mind can handle the grind, but my body knows it's time to say goodbye. And that's okay. I'm ready to let you go. I want you to know now so we can both savor every moment we have left together. The good and the bad, we have given each other all that we have. And we both know no matter what I do next, I'll always be that kid with the rolled up socks, garbage can in the corner, 5 seconds on the clock, ball in my hands. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Love you always, Kobe. And super touching, right? Wonderful. And I know that a lot of people are talking about like this is a great tribute to his life and his career, and like this is a wonderful way to go out. A lot of people go out kicking and screaming, and just like the issue is that the ego gets involved, and we think we think we can still do things, or we hope or we want to. We get attached to doing things the way that we used to be able to do them. And I'm talking to all you guys, you're all young, but like imagine a time in the future and it's gonna come where you're just not as fast as you used to be. And you're not as strong, as you're not as flexible and limber, and stuff just hurts all the time. And you kind of just gut it out and you keep going through it. But you come to a realization that it's not really going to get better. I am not going to get stronger, faster, more flexible. The pain, I might have times where the pain is worse and better, but it's going to continue in that direction. Unless science comes up with something, and I'm really hoping. But it's like more than likely, we're just going to keep going, like a little bit more painful, a little bit more aches and pains and bruises, and that's normal. That's life. But the problem is not that things go that way, because that's just life. That's normal. That's natural. The problem is that we get attached to things the way that they used to be. And I've had quite a few people, not yet in this school, but back at the school in Michigan, say, either to me or to Sifu Brown or the other instructors, like, I just can't do it the way that I used to do it. I can't do it the way that I want to do it. And sometimes it's just their schedule. I can't make it to class as often as I used to. Sometimes it is their physical body. I'm just like, I can't keep up. That's the worst. I can't keep up. I can't keep up. When I hear that, it's like a little piece of my heart breaks. I can't keep up. And for whatever reason, like, look, this is life and this is practice, and it is never going to just stay up here. It's a constant wave, up and down. But if you recognize that, you can be ready for it, and you can expect it, and go with the flow, as they say. And life and practice is flow. So there are so many examples. A great example of a fighter was Joe Louis. I think Joe Louis, the boxer. But somebody asked him, why you quit? Why did you retire? They say retire when it's nice. Quit is like if you're too early, if you're a quitter. But he said, why did you retire? And he was pretty successful still. And he said, I retired because I started to see the openings. And when we hear that, we think like, what do you mean? That's a good thing. Seeing the openings is great. And he said, no, I didn't used to see the openings. I used to just hit them. So like I was talking about in the last class about the mitts, like if you see the mitt and then you like look at it and you hesitate and all of that, that is not good, because that hesitation can cost you. It can cost you landing the strike. It can cost you getting hit with somebody else's strike. And it costs you the moment. And all we have is moments. Like all of life is just a succession of moments, a string of this and this and this. And that is just what happens. Like we live up in our head. And we have this moment, we have this opening for action. And very often, we already know what the right thing to do is. Whether it's say this thing, take this breath, throw this punch or kick or whatever. And yet, we get up in our heads and we think about it. And we stop ourselves. And it's because we're attached to something. We're attached to doing it right. We're attached to, not wanting to get hit, not wanting to mess up, whatever. But if you can let that go, and as he said, just hit the target, just hit the opening. And it's like there's a seamless connection between the opening for action and the action. But when we start to second guess ourselves, we lose that. And that is for sure a sign if you're like a professional athlete, like you got to be done. Because when you start getting up in your head, it's over. You take like golf. I'm just going to talk about every single sport tonight. Golf, which I play a little bit and I'm awful at, but I enjoy playing it because you go out on a nice golf course and it's pretty quiet and you spend time with people who you like sometimes. But there is for sure some physical, some athleticism involved with golf, no question. And it's something that most people can play with the amount of athleticism they have to some degree or another, as long as they put in the time to actually learn, the details of the swing and the game and all of that. So once you put in enough time to really get your stroke down, what happens, and I used to be the king of this, is the mind gets in the way. And I mean, literally, this is what you do in golf. It's some iterative of this, of a backswing and then a follow through. And it's either a big one or it's a shorter one or a shorter one and all the way to putting. And it's like, it's pretty simple. As far as things go, it can't get much simpler than golf. Yet what happens is you start thinking. And the absolute worst is when you are, on stroke 5 of a par 3 hole and you're like done. In your mind, you gave up 2 strokes ago. And that is really it. Like, you cannot possibly hit a good ball when you've already given up and you've just said, this hole is done. In fact, this whole 18 holes is done for me. Because you start to get attached to, what you think it is. You start to get attached to this whole bigger picture of, I'm sucking in this game right now and I can't win. Because that's what golf is all about, is beating the people that you're there to play with. And it just cracks me up. Like, my brother is like this. My brother, I love him. I actually enjoy spending time with him, and I don't mind playing golf with him. But man, this young man is the hardest person on themselves that you will meet. Well, that's not true. I've played with people who are a little bit insane on the golf course, but he's pretty rough. And he'll yell at himself, and he'll get mad, and I've seen him chuck the golf club sometimes. And it's like, he's not the only one. And it just cracks me up when I see somebody get that upset at, duffing on a golf stroke, or the ball like goes that way when you wanted it to go that way. And part of the reason why it's so funny to me is because I'm not good and the ball never goes where I want it to go. So I'm totally fine with that. But also, it's like, why are you going to spend so much time doing this thing that you hate so much? Like, if it's just stressful for you, just like enjoy it, or don't do it. Or if you're going to be that pissed off, get better so that you're not so like upset all the time. But this is the kind of thing that happens when the mind gets in the way. You tell yourself, like, there's actually a voice in your head that says, I suck. There's a voice in your head that says, I'm about to miss this. And either you say it in language, or you see it, you visualize the shot going off, or there's just like that feeling that you get of like, this is bad. And it's that space that we put in there. It's like you've all had this experience where you crumple up a piece of paper and throw it into the trash can without thinking about it, and you're like 10 feet away and it goes in perfectly. And then you think, ooh, that was pretty cool. I could do that again. And you try it again and it misses like on the other side of the room. It's because you got in the way. The ego is there. So really on a level, we're talking about Mu Shin here, right? No mind. And it's something that we work on in meditation. It's something that we work on in practice. But it's something that is necessary for a professional athlete, whether you're playing golf or basketball or whatever. You've got to have complete control over your mind. And this is something that we get to as we spar in more advanced classes, where you have this opportunity. And it does not seem like an opportunity for a lot of people, because it seems like this is just me getting hit. There's no opportunity here. But it is an opportunity, because when you get hit, your mind wants to go to that same place of like, I'm sucking. This is no good. I'm going to get hit again. Frustration and regret and all kinds of whatever negative stuff you can come up with. It's an opportunity to recognize that and let it go immediately. Just like meditation is an opportunity to recognize the thought and let it go immediately. And I've had meditations where I sit there and I just get more and more pissed off as I'm sitting there, because I'm thinking more than I was when I sat down to meditate in the first place. And I'm tired and I'm nodding off and I'm going to sleep, and this is awful. This is counterproductive, worse than if I just went to bed. And the bell rings on my timer and I just and then go to bed and just, pissed. But usually meditation is not like that, because I catch myself at the beginning and I'll recognize, oh, I see what's going on here. This is an opportunity for me. This is a great chance for me to recognize those thoughts and just let them go before they start to take over. But really what we're talking about is this topic that got brought to mind for me, and I was reminded of, was this question that Sifu Brown asked all of us back in Michigan about 10 years ago. He asked the whole class, if you knew that this was as good as you're going to get, if you knew that you could not get any better at martial arts, would you keep practicing? Or would you quit? And how would that be? I heard his question, and my immediate response was, of course I'd keep practicing. I love martial arts. This is great. But then I thought about it. I really thought about it, and it rocked me. And I realized, wait a minute, part of why I love martial arts so much is because I'm pretty good at it. And I'm pretty fast. I can spar pretty well. I enjoy it because my body feels good when I'm doing it. And what if, when I start to get a little bit older, I don't move so fast and it starts to hurt, and instead of forms being enjoyable, forms are like a chore. I got to get up and get myself through it. And what if sparring is I just start losing every single time I spar? And I really thought about it. And I don't honestly know if I had a clear answer at that point when I started thinking, but what I did was I just made the decision. I just decided. I don't care, and I swear to you, I have this thought, this kind of gruesome thought, more often than I should, but if I get run over by a car and lose my legs, I'm going to keep practicing and teaching martial arts. I'll get really good at Shina. But it's what I'm going to do. There's nothing that I would rather do. And some of you guys know it's my dream. It's my super morbid dream to die teaching class. I want to just be rolling and somebody just gets me in a choke, and I'm 150 years old, and it's the final tap, and I just don't wake up from it. Because don't be the person who chokes me out. Because honestly, because I made the decision that this is what I want to do, and it's just been so simple. So many people have told me over the last however many years, I guess 10 years, probably 15 years, really, since I made the decision. But I decided back when I was 18 years old that this is what I want to do. I want to teach martial arts, and I knew that I was going to move to California, open up a school, and teach martial arts for the rest of my life. I knew it. I'm 18 years old, and I got this. And a lot of people now, they're 30 or 40 years old, they still don't know what they want to do. And it's I've kind of have been pigeonholed into this thing that I do, and I call it my career and my life. Really, I wish I was doing something else, but it's not lost on me. I get how blessed and fortunate I am. But when it came down to it, it's because I made the decision. Nobody else told me that I should do this. Trust me, there are many people telling me that I should not teach martial arts. My parents there could not have been a louder, audible gasp and sigh when I told my parents that I was going to teach martial arts and that I quit my job selling copy machines to teach martial arts. But man, it has just been simple since then. And Kobe's going to keep playing basketball. Kobe's not going to keep playing basketball in the NBA. But I promise you, he's not going to stop. Like, he's not going to walk away and just, that's it, I never play anymore. You can't love something that much, like enough to write that, and enough to stay around for way too long, and not keep doing it. Now, you can't do it at that level. And I'm not going to be able to flip around and do flying kicks and all the crazy stuff that I could do. I mean, I'm already not as fast and can't jump as high as I used to. But that's never going to stop me. Sifu Brown, I love it. Sifu Brown started practicing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu a while ago. And he said, this is my retirement plan. Because, like, he can't punch and kick as fast and as strong as he used to when he was 20 years old, but he can grapple really well because you're just, laying on the ground. So, and he's amazing. And he still will whoop up on you when you spar with him, but grappling, I mean, he will like tie you into knots and make you tap 20 times. And it's like you have to be unattached to allow it to be that free, right? To say it doesn't have to be the same exact way that it was for me back then. But if you make the decision like, yeah, I'm going to do this. This is just what I do. And I'm not saying that you have to do this with martial arts, although you should. But I'm saying with whatever it is that you really know is good for you, that you know that you love, that you know that you want to do. If you decide before it gets to the point where it's all depressing and dramatic, if you decide now, like, I'm just going to do this. And I could be awful in the future. I'm just going to keep doing it. I love it. I love seeing, this is going to sound kind of mean, I love seeing old ladies who can't really dance anymore dance. And it's like they're not moving as well as they used to, but they're doing it and they are loving it. And you can tell, I mean, I've had some of them come into the dojo and they're telling me all about how amazing they used to be. I used to be able to put my foot over my head and I could do all this, that. And I was a professional this and a professional that. And it's seriously demoralizing and depressing for people when they start not being able to move that well. And a lot of them have just decided, like, I can't do that anymore. I just don't dance, or I just don't do that thing that I used to do. I'm going to try this. And I think it's great. I think everyone should come and do Tai Chi when they can't do anything else. And you should do Tai Chi when you can do everything else. But it is a tough thing unless you recognize where it's coming from. When you recognize this whole thought process of I can't do it the way that I used to, and I should really stop, I should really quit, I can't do that anymore. It's all the ego. It's 100% cannot possibly be anything other than the ego when you are attached to the way that you did it. Now, if you're talking about, like, I can't do this thing anymore because I literally, I can't play basketball on one leg because I broke my leg or whatever, that's something else. But when it's just about, I can't do it like I want to do it, it's something that I can appreciate, I can totally understand. And on the other hand, it's something that just can be so easy to deal with, cut and dry, when you let the ego go and you've just decided, I'm going to do this thing. It doesn't even have to be something physical. It could be something mental. It can be art. Like, people all the time, I'm a professional writer and I got writer's block. And it's like, just becomes so simple to just decide, I cannot do this thing anymore. I'm sure, Kai, you've run into this many times. And the art does not always cooperate. And your body does not always cooperate. And it doesn't have to. You can love it no matter what. I mean, Kobe's body stopped cooperating a while ago. It's been a minute since he could play the way that he wants to and the way that he really expects himself to and the way that everybody else in the city expects him to. Yet he keeps playing. And this is one of the things that we can get from meditation. This is one of the things that we can get from practice, is the recognition of where that comes from, the recognition of the ego when it crops up and the things that it tries to weasel its way into and to get us to do or to not do. And you can recognize those thoughts and let them go. And you can have this commitment to something in your life that you love and decide, I'm just doing this no matter what. I'm going to keep doing this no matter what. And that's a discipline. It is a high discipline. For a lot of people, quitting is just so easy and it's the first thing we think of. But this is what I invite you to do in your meditation tonight, is recognize the thought and let it go, and recognize that the thought is directly connected to the ego. And the thought of, running through this memory in your head, or thinking about the things that you have to do when you get home, or any of that stuff, is just the ego creeping up, trying to get you to not meditate because it hates it when you sit there and are just still. Because it feels like, ego death is coming, it's imminent. Do anything it can do to survive. So, just let it go. And it'll be there waiting for you when you're done. Sit comfortably.